Not all superheroes wears capes. Some wear wellies. Wellies.
Hello everyone and welcome to the James Conway Experience. So, in the year 2020, all around the world, we all decided to go through a collective mass psychosis, but out of it, some wonderful things happened. And one of the wonderful things that happened was an organisation that I'm very proud to say I'm helping a little bit with now, and really enjoying being part of it. And the regalia is behind us at the moment, which is the Green Hearts organisation. And we have two of the founding members here, Joan O'Connell and Sharon Murphy, who have travelled collectively from Leitrim and Cork, but both originally from Cork. So just a little intro on my side of it. It's an organisation that helps spread the word about homesteading, health, spirituality, Irish culture, natural farming and remedies, growing and healing together. And you are absolutely fantastic women to start this off. You're putting connections between all of these groups that are working in Ireland, little independent groups, and now they have something that they can all band together and wear the badge, as the man says, wear the green heart. And thank you so much for what you're doing and for being here to talk about it. Podcast with Jimmy, he alluded to it, he's a member of it. I have met so many fantastic people now through that network, so thank you. And please tell us about it if that's all right.
Well, Sharon was in at the very start, so I'll let Sharon.
Well, I suppose the genesis of the actual frequency or the energy behind it started the first night of lockdown. I was aware that there were a lot of my friends who were women living alone, and, you know, we were all scared. And because I thought for so long, you know, it's no bother to me to talk and broadcast or do anything like that. You know, the Department of Education paid me to get very good at it for a long time. So I just, for some reason, I don't even remember making the decision, but I just went upstairs and I went live on Facebook. And I said, any friends out there who want to have a chat, and we'll do a little meditation together. And we did 400 nights straight, every night.
Brilliant.
And over time, we got connected in through different networks, you know, some that stayed offline and others, you know, went to protests and did all of that and found more and more people. A lot of the networks that formed in Cork formed on the buses on the way to protests in Dublin. And there was a point, I think, where we kind of went, right, yeah, the fighting needs to happen to protest things, but also what's the opposite of that? Like, what do we need to be building? And so we started thinking more about what we were for than what we were against.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the genesis of the Green Heart. And the actual physical Green Heart, what we did in Passage West, I started Neighbour Food, which was at the time a franchise that you would connect local suppliers and customers. And especially during COVID, like restaurants closed, suppliers weren't getting sales to restaurants. Restaurants couldn't open their doors. So we connected the consumers directly with the restaurants. So people could order online. There'd be a pickup point on a Thursday, and we'd hand people boxes and crates of organic milk and ready meals, meat, bread, fish, everything. So we built a kind of a community out of that, and then we built a kitchen out of that. And one of the women who helped us massively was a woman called Alicia. Herself and her husband had set up Mast. They insured all the market traders years ago when they couldn't get insurance. And she loved what we were doing. And we started talking about our community. And we were saying how in Amsterdam and in Holland at the time, people were wearing red hearts to recognise each other. And we just looked at each other and said, should they'd have to be green to be Irish? And she said, I have a woman who's just bought a laser cutting machine. I'm sure she could make the hearts. And bless her, by the end of the week, we had the hearts.
Well, it's a great little thing to see each other in the wild without knowing each other. And my partner now has it on the car and I have it on the van. And I got beeped at the other day above in Leitrim, and I was kind of wondering what the beeping was about. And then he kind of pointed over where the sticker was and gave me the thumbs up, and I was like, oh, very nice.
Oh, nice. That's magic.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah. It's like a little secret sign to each other. Joan, when did you get involved then?
Well, in the start of the whole thing, I was fooled at the start, you know, of the whole. I was thinking, oh my God, this deadly virus is around the place. And then after about 6 or 7 weeks, I was like, where are all the dead people in the streets? this is not making sense, you know. And then I started researching, and then that led me on to meet other people. And I met Sharon in Cork, I think, at the protest for the delimiting the right to private housing, you know, where they're trying to say your house isn't fully your own, the government can take it, whatever. So we met at that. And then we met at lots of other things. And then Sharon and Shane Murphy, who is the other person who started the Green Hearts with us, he's also from Cork. So it's
Great.
Cork taking over the place.
Rebel country.
So they started the health hubs, and this was to make groups of people with into natural health. You didn't have to actually be a healer. You could just be a person who's really interested in natural health. So they started that. And at the same time, up the East Coast, there was another group who were kind of connected to us, but doing their own thing as well. They also started natural health hubs up the East Coast. And then it was just health hubs for a while. That was the kind of the network. Now, we had all come from other networks that had been previously there as well. And so then when I was going around the country to try and network the different groups together, I realized that there were all these other amazing groups there, like your group. Somebody introduced me to you, and I was like, oh, there's another amazing group up here. And it's not actually a natural health group, but it includes natural health. And I came across another great group in Leitrim. And then people would say, oh, there's a group here and there's a group there, and you'd meet up with them. So we said, you know, we need a network to connect all the good groups together. Anyone that's building the new Ireland, basically, that's making, you know, the way forward, any kind of natural health, community, and all coming out of the love of Ireland and the love of each other kind of thing. And say somebody contacted me from the County Down, and they have a soul group in County Down, which is another different thing again. But we're all on the same page, basically, you know. So our thing is we're not an organisation. We're building a network so that we will build the links between this group and the Leitrim group and the Tyrone group and the Down group and all the groups all around the country, so that the groups can interact with each other. So we have no committee or chair people or anything. There's just me and Shane and Sharon just, you know, kind of organising it and, you know, seeing where it goes next kind of thing. And it has just taken off by itself. Like it's like the mycelium. It's just growing, you know.
Or as we call it, the mycelium.
Mycelium, yes.
Well, I think it's like a little internet for me because, you know, we were up in Tyrone last weekend with like-minded people. And the remarkable thing for me is, you know, I know that I could contact you, Joan, if I was heading to a part of the country and say, I'm heading there on my holidays. Is there anything interesting down there that I could call into for an hour or two? And like, there's some people doing remarkably good work around the country.
Oh, yeah.
How do you navigate the tentacles come in? If you have a good idea and you have a good group going, then all of a sudden the offer of grant money and stuff like this comes in. How do you circumnavigate that? Because it's not easy to do.
Well, I see, coming from a farming background, that the grants looked like a great thing, but all the strings that were attached to the grants have brought us to where farming is today, where farmers can't afford to be farmers without grants, which is ridiculous. And then because they have to have the grant, I have to do this and I have to do that because of the grant. So they've no freedom. And most of the farmers, even in great places in Tipperary, I know a farmer, and the only reason he's not in debt is because he's a carpenter as well, and his wife is a nurse. But all of his other friends are in debt because they're told, well, if you want to do such a thing, you have to build a certain type of a house for the cattle, and that you have to get a loan from the bank. So all the strings that are attached, there's always something. Like the derelict houses grant, there's a lot of strings attached to that one that people didn't realise. Now they're stuck in the middle of it and they're sorry they ever went for it. So we're just suspicious of grants in general, and we want to be completely free. Nobody telling us what to do because we don't know where it's going to go yet. You know.
And the wonderful thing that we're finding is when you get a group together, the resources that you need for the group are already there.
That's right.
You don't need the grant.
You
know, there's someone who has the tractor, there's someone who has the knowledge, there's someone who has the couple of hours to give. And as I was saying to you earlier, when we often like to say that we'll come and run a meeting for you, right? So we're the reason for you to call on the like-minded people in your community and say, listen, there's these two lunatics from Cork, they have something to say. Why not let's get together and see what they say? And then we come and say, well, you're a community. And then we feck off and you're a community. But you know what I mean? It's just, it's a reason to call people together. But when we do that, we go around the room and we say, what are your resources? What are your skills? And what are your needs? And invariably, there'll be a need met by a resource that's already in the room.
Yeah.
And if we can keep doing that and keep creating that. So the attraction, I think, for people to the groups is, it's not what I can get out of it all the time. It's just making the connection. The number of people who come in. We have a Friday morning health hub in Passage West. We do it every Friday morning. It's a drop-in. People come, they exchange. Sometimes they exchange treatments, whatever. The number of women who come in and go, oh my God, I've been looking for this. A cup of tea and a chat.
Yeah.
That's actually all they want. I don't need a grant to put on the kettle and give someone a cup of tea. Do you know? So it's that, and then they step in and they go, well, do you know, years ago I did a qualification in sound, but I was always too nervous to try it on anyone. But this is such a lovely group now, I'll step back in. We've had 4 or 5 people become some kind of healer or take on training or practice on each other because of the confidence of the group. So we've created resources from within the group just out of support for each other.
Have you noticed as well, because I've noticed it on the meetups we have here, the whole masculine energy and feminine energy, it just seems to separate, find itself. So we had a really cool thing where we were building the bridge, you know, and there was maybe 10 or 12 guys there, some carpenters, some builders, all the rest. And there was a couple of ladies, and one of the ladies approached me. She says, James, we're not really into this. It's not, it's not for us. What do you need done? And I says, oh God, we could really use a bit of help above in the veg garden. And she went, sound. And the ladies just headed for the veg garden. And my missus was looking out the back window. She ended up calling out to the other girls. And she says, it was just a lovely day because it was just doing a bit of weeding and chatting amongst themselves and making tea and stuff. Yeah. Is that, it doesn't have to be forced, does it? It's just naturally this happens.
We're social creatures. We want to connect. And I would say at every gathering, the natural state between 2 human beings is love.
Yes.
But we've forgotten that. It's been engineered out. We're taught to fear each other. You must want something off me and I have to protect what's mine. That's the wider world. Whereas when we get back and we sit, I've always said the evil is in the system. I couldn't have verbalized it better than that back in the day, but I always felt the system allows us to do very bad things to each other.
Yes.
I can't look you in the eye and harm you.
Yeah.
But I can put 5 layers of paperwork between us, tick a box and do awful harm to you.
Yes.
So when we take that out and people meet, and one of the first networks we were both involved in was very much nothing online, all meeting in person, and it had great strengths to it.
Yes.
And it meant that we made those real-time physical connections. And people naturally, and I think our community are very much, I know something that might be useful to you, I will share it with you.
Yes.
I have a skill, I have something to impart, We want to give. It's not about what we're getting necessarily, but if in the giving our needs can also be met, everybody's winning, and that doesn't cost anything.
Well, we'll just tell the audience there, and I'll pull in Darren as well. We're kind of the mantle in Sligo now to try and get it up and running in Sligo. So we're after the Homesteaders Hoolie Festival. We're going to tackle into the hay shed now and get it as kind of a place where if there's a healer or a basket maker or a weaver who really wants to teach a class and doesn't have much in the line of a premises and doesn't kind of want dealing with the whole government entity thing, we're going shooting ahead at that. So Darren, you could probably say it on a tech end better, what'll be available to them in there or that.
Oh, it's early days yet now, even with tech and stuff.
Yeah.
It's still a hay bar.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We still have.
I can see it finished in my mind's eye.
I have to say, yesterday now, it was easy sold.
Yeah.
I suppose it's the time of year. Like it's a busy time of year, and there's a lot of things to get done. I mean, I still have a roof on the ground, and still have a lot of things to get done. But we do have a vision. Absolutely, we do have a vision, and. I suppose, look, it's a solution again. We're solution-driven kind of people. And, even this morning talking to these guys, they were telling us about how they literally got kicked out in the middle of a workshop once, the people that owned the venue knew what they were about. And, I mean, all they were doing is talking about self-sufficiency and sovereignty. Do you know? I mean, we're gone. It's ridiculous the way it's gone altogether. But... like that, I suppose we're going to be looking at it again. It's a solution for any groups that are having them kind of problems. I mean, it's going to be a safe space that you can actually use for a small fee and share your skill set and do your workshops and that kind of thing. And I suppose, look, there's a lot of, it's kind of new education really and re-education. A lot of what we were told is fucking rubbish, you know, and it's going to be a space for that. But I suppose from our perspective, then we're going to be kind of doing the kind of, you know, so an introduction to homesteaders. Most of the people that we've met, it's like women watching cooking, and they actually haven't got the time to cook, you know, but they still enjoy and they want to know about it and they want to be able to do it and someday envisage making that pie or whatever else. And it's the same thing for homesteading as well. We don't have the skill sets a lot, and once we realise that, you know, it's about having the confidence just to reach out and to be affordable as well.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be, what's his name that you're always on about over in the States, Richard Salatin.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that, but it's going to be similar.
Well, it's like
It's based on that.
It's like Teresa there, when we were doing the festival, came round with me doing the plumbing. She'd never done plumbing.
Yeah.
And she left it. She knew how to put on a joiner, a T, and make, you know, do a tap.
Yeah.
And I says to her, thanks very much for your help. She goes, my help? She said, do you realise what you're after doing for me? And I was like, what? And she says, well, now I know all I need is a cutters and a pipe wrench.
Yeah.
And I can do this. And I was like...
You've instilled confidence.
Yeah.
That's what you've done.
And
it's not something that is, oh my God.
Yeah. And you've empowered her.
Yeah. But she done this remarkable thing. And it really hit me. So, do you know when you're pushing the pipe into the fitting?
Yeah.
She goes, that's all right for you, James. You're 6 foot and you're strong. How do I do that? And then I kind of go, well, if I was teaching the young fella how to do it, you use your weight. So I says, you just, little flat stone, put your weight against it. And she goes, I'm away now. But she recognised in that moment, that looks difficult for me. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just really enjoyed that. And I was like, what an absolute hero. Because she say, I mightn't be able to do it that way. So I'll get this fella to show me how I will be able to do it. And yeah, it was just a lovely little moment. But that's going to be part of the introduction to homesteading courses. Just a basic plumbing, basic stuff like that. Then the animals. And then on Joan and Sharon's side is allowing people from the Green Hearts community to have a space where, you know, you're not getting kicked out. You know, if you book it, that's it. The date is set. Like, this is a massive problem all around the country at the moment. Venues.
Yeah, look, I mean, even John, when he was down trying to do his book signing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they were saying they were meeting the same issues. I'm in a sense surprised it's still going on, you know.
I don't think a lot of these venues realise, though, that it's remembered.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
But see, they are also bloody deluded. They still have this kind of, the far right, you know, sure, bringing trouble to the door. They have, you know, it's all associated by a lot of fucking mainstream media with a lot of trouble. Batshit crazy people, kind of ludicrous ideologies. It's kind of like...
But could anyone name the one example where there was trouble? Because I can't.
No.
The only occasion I ever seen trouble was after the children stabbing in Dublin. And like, if you look at that occasion, it was a very diverse group of rioters. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think it was just far right Paddy that was on the scene taking Nike Air Max shoes. I think it was a very diverse group of rioters. And then you have that tarnished a movement, do you know? And I'll go back and I'll get back to the girls on this point. And I think you're the ones who are doing this, and it's brilliant. When I was canvassing for one of the elections, lovely lady, she says, James, I know everything you're against. What are you for? And I was able to list the things that I was for. And she goes, how come I'm not seeing that? She says, I'm showing videos of you pointing out what you don't agree with and all that, but I'm not seeing you on your farm. And I was thinking,
I think we were all in that space for a while of what we were against. And like Sharon said, then we had to figure out what we were for.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think being against something had its purpose in us finding each other.
Yes.
It was this monolith thing that
Yeah.
we all knew we agreed on that.
Yeah.
We weren't for that. But I think there's a wider point as well. I think there's been a weaponization of language.
Yes.
So we had to become anti-vaxxers. We had to become anti-masks,
Yes.
We had to be anti. It's
Yeah.
a bit like, there's been a weaponization, I think, of language in every polarizing topic now.
Yes.
You're pro or you're anti. You
Yes.
know, and we were just saying, in the old days, people could say, well, I don't agree with you there now at all.
Yeah.
And you could still get on. But
that
now
was-
you can't even be in my space if we don't agree on everything.
Well,
and you must have an orthodoxy of opinion that agrees with mine.
Where is the middle ground? Because my thing with masks were, if you want to wear it, fine.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. If you want to wear it, I don't care. That is your business.
Yeah.
I can give you a full list of information of why you shouldn't. But frankly, I don't care.
Yeah.
And the same with vaccines. Like, I have my opinion on them, but fair be it for me. If you want to, I'm very libertarian when it comes to drink things like that. If you want to go and have a drink, you have a drink. If you want to take an injection, you take an injection. None of my business.
Yeah.
How come you can't have, I'm not anti that, but I don't want you to force me to take it. Which, up until a few years ago, was a very reasonable position. Do you know, it's like, so I'm a sheep farmer. Oh, so you're anti-cattle? No. No. The sheep seem to be working better for me. But you hate cattle, don't you? You'd go around shooting the cattle, wouldn't
Well,
you? No.
it's funny. I've become homophobic
Yes.
and gay.
Yes.
But I'm homophobic
you're one of
now.
these remarkable cases.
Yeah.
I have so many friends who are like that,
Yeah.
and it was it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The whole this all came predominantly from the trans issue, I think. Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's strange to me that
There's a label just slapped on you because you are on one side of one opinion.
How many gays and lesbians who established the movement towards rights in this country have now been pushed into a corner and said, oh, by the way, you're irrelevant now. Yeah. How do you like that? We've moved sexuality on and you've been left behind. Absolutely. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's it called? Tell us a little bit about that, because it's such an interesting subject. Do you know, as a lesbian, and I said it to you earlier, lesbians, gays have nothing in common at all. Do you know?
Well, as I said, and lesbians in my world, lesbians and drag queens have even less in common.
Yes,
to be honest,
yeah,
you know. I saw it interestingly from within that there were what I would have called women I would have followed into battle.
Yeah.
You know, that I loved their ethics, their values, or whatever. And the growth of the NGOs, the funding of back to education, the study, I saw these women becoming more and more agendized. There was more of an ideology coming in.
Yeah.
All with good intentions, I would say, with most of the women I know. But you're paid to have an opinion. And is it 32,000 NGOs we have in this country? So, yeah. So I saw it through those that there was a particular slant. And I tell the story that I used to be the child protection officer for Irish Water Safety in Cork. I used to go around and teach lifeguards and swimming teachers child protection. And one of the things we used to say back then was if a child is using highly sexualised language and there isn't someone designated to report to in the organisation, and if you think it's related to school, then you would say it to the parents. And if you think it's related to, or if you think it's the parents, then you would report it to the teacher.
Because it could be an indication of abuse. Or
absolutely. Why would a child use highly sexualised language? They shouldn't. It's inappropriate. Where are they learning it? So that was a red flag for all these. And I had to teach this to 16-year-olds. So you have to be careful with your language because they're still technically children.
Yeah.
But they're lifeguards, so they needed to know this. And I would say, so if you have a child using highly sexualised language at any age and you suspect it, report it to the teacher. The sad thing I'm seeing now is if a child is using highly sexualised language now, it's the teacher who taught it to them as part of the syllabus. That's where I have the issue, is the children.
Is there a danger that that's the syllabus trying to cover an indicator?
I think there's...
Is that a very dark realm to go down, if you get me?
I would just be happy saying, or not happy saying, but happy to say that what I see is a sexualisation of children that's uncomfortably young, as
Yes.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be. I've had the debate with teachers and they've said, oh, but they're watching porn and we must educate them. We don't know what they're getting at home. There's a line between education and what I would call promotion.
Yeah.
And I think children are very impressionable. And if you start telling them things at an age that they're too young to understand, it can cause an awful lot of confusion. And I don't really want to judge the people who think they're doing the right thing with children, because I think there are many in there who are genuinely believe that this is appropriate. But I would have a serious concern about talking about issues of a sexual nature in the classroom with children. I had a friend and she was telling me she was photocopying pictures of penises to bring into 12-year-olds as part of the syllabus.
But you see, my thing with it, we had no introduction until 6th class. And it was hilarious because our principal was a very stiff upper lip man. What's it called? He couldn't be in the room when this filth was going to filth. But the lady who came out to do the course didn't seem to estimate that we were all from a farming background. So what she was teaching, we were kind of like, oh, so we're the same. Yeah, we kind of presumed that. All right. But at the time, they didn't go into all of this kink and nonsense like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they didn't, because, like the education for me was when I went to England. Ireland, you went out to Sligo on a Friday or a Saturday night. You didn't see the things that you seen in England. I was just like, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the world.
Yeah.
And I think what we've done is imported a lot of that, and I don't think it's for our benefit.
It's not just the children. There's a sexualization of society
Yes.
at large, everywhere. And it really, I think the test case was the Netherlands, and they started in the Netherlands years ago. Now, I've met 2 couples who moved from the Netherlands 30 years ago because they saw the writing on the wall and they didn't want to bring their children up there. Now, the Netherlands, but that's a whole different issue, is gone. It's just absolutely ridiculous, the things they're doing in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is to encourage people to create a community where children are safe.
Yeah.
Where they're children, where, they're reading stories and playing with each other and playing in the fields and in the trees and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Like down at the festival, running around
down
with
at the
sticks.
festival. Yeah. No phones, no any of those kind of things. Just a safe space where they can be. But it's hard when it's coming into the schools. So the parents do have to stand up against that.
How can they square a circle where there has never been more talk about sexualization and that, and less people having it? Because like relationships are through the floor.
Yeah.
What's it called? Young people, the amount of young people now who, I think they even have a terminology, involuntary celibate or that, we're at a stage where, it's becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Where, people are not meeting each other, they're not reproducing.
Yeah.
And
they're trying to push people as well later and later. Oh my God, you can't have children until you've travelled around Southeast Asia and you've done this, that and the other.
Well, we brought our youngest the other evening for her introduction to creche or that. And I did say to my partner, I said, did you notice something about the age demographic? And she goes, yes, I did. And it was predominantly couples in their 40s and that. Nothing wrong with it. But I says it to her, I says, God above, I don't think I could have a toddler at that age. Do you know, it's an energy thing. Like Annie in there is bouncing off the walls from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 at night, and I can't see how they're promoting this as, that's the way to do it. I don't think so. I think, you should be promoting young couples, have kids and the rest.
But I think that's largely back to what we mentioned earlier, is the financial pressures on people to stay at the career, to get to a certain point, to get the house, to pay the mortgage. There isn't time for the relationships to, there isn't time for the kids to be allowed out the freedom, because they've got the play date and they've got the creche and it's all scheduled to keep us on that hamster wheel of there's no time. And then what's happened, I think, as well with the screens and the access to everything, is people have gotten very used to curating their environment, and having everything the way they want it. Like I tell the story, when I was a kid, I grew up on the main street of Middleton. If I needed new jeans, I went to the local shop and I bought the one pair of jeans that they had. Like, good luck if I liked them. If I didn't, I was still getting them. But then you'd go to Cork and there'd be 5 or 6 pairs of jeans. And so you'd kind of feel like, oh, I can now have the jeans that I want. Now that's expanded out to the internet. I can have everything the way I want it. And so there's a tendency then in the relationships as well to say, well, I want the relationship to be so perfect before we have the child, or I want the house to be perfect, because there's this idea that everybody's living the perfect life, which of course we know they're not.
Yeah.
But there is this idea of, oh no, I can only have the massive wedding, so I need to work for a whole other year just to pay for the wedding.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot. And then the house must be perfect. So therefore I need to work, to get to a certain part on the corporate ladder before I can have the house. And then maybe I can afford the child. So I think there's a financial part in it for a lot of people as well that pushes it down the road.
Is there a thing, though, and I'm speaking to a lot of young people now, that they've made it so unachievable that a lot of young people are coming to the conclusion, why even try?
Yeah, lots of them are saying we're not even going to have children because, we can't afford it. And like, when could we ever have our own house? But also they were really pushing the idea that you have to have a certain type of house.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, it has to have 4 bedrooms and it has to have this, that and the other, rather than, you get some kind of a house and maybe you do it up afterwards. Like, we all started with furniture that was being thrown out of other people's houses. Mm-hmm. We didn't go out and take a big furniture loan. And part of this homesteading group as well is going back to the basics. Mm-hmm. Go back to the basics is a house with love in it.
Yes.
Not with certain types of furniture in it. A garden out the back with the food growing that you are going to eat.
Yes.
A group of people to go out and play and socialise with that are into the same things as you are.
When did they introduce the shame of a small building?
I wonder.
When did they introduce that? Mm-hmm. Because I know dads, 12 or 14 of them, they were reared with 2 rooms and a kitchen. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 8 or 9 the same up there at Mam's side. And I remember an aunt from London, back from London now. She turned into Londoner when she went to London. When she came back, she was looking at the house and she goes, God, how did we ever live in that? Mm. And I went, probably quite happily.
Yeah. Mm.
And they did live quite happily. And I just can't get my head around the aspect that a young couple think that they need 5 to 6 bedrooms, and you say to them, and how many kids do you intend to have? Well, we might have 1. Where did this concept come out?
I live in a house that's over 200 years old.
Yeah.
And on our terrace lately, 2 houses are being done up. And they were well-built houses. They were built for the Navy as holiday homes. And we moved in and we did the minimum. We moved the kitchen from the back where the little old lady was in the little galley kitchen, and we moved it to the front. We did a few other things. The house is fine. But the next people on the terrace and the next people on the terrace, they have to gut everything. It has to be perfect. It has to have the underfloor heating. There's this mindset that we don't make do anymore. It has to be perfect. And the money then is tied up into that. And that's where I think the trap is. Like, mortgage is a death grip. That's what it means.
Yeah.
And so once you're in that grip of, I must have it. And there's a lot of, I think with social media as well, is added to the comparisons with the friends and the peer groups and kind of showing off what you have. I think the Celtic Tiger really kicked that off, that you couldn't just have a kitchen anymore. You had to have a Dermot Bannon glass box out the back, on your semi-D if you couldn't move or whatever. It became about being on show and how it looked as opposed to how it felt and how, the home.
See, on the YouTube front, I'm watching a lot of young men in their early 20s or that, and I'm remarkably impressed with them. Because they figured it out. Mm. And I'm just looking at them thinking, God, I wish I figured it out as young as you. Mm. Do you know?
Mm. Yeah.
And they're putting up lovely structures, but very functional structures.
Yeah, and small.
Tiny homes.
Yeah.
And basically what they're saying is, I'm in my most productive work years now. Mm. So instead of paying rent or instead of paying the mortgage, I've bought this small piece of land. I have the tiny home on it. It's somewhat off grid. I can do the work, save up a few pounds, and then one day, if I want to do a house, I can. But in the meantime, I'm going to educate myself on investment and stuff like that. I think there's a very good generation coming through.
Yeah.
I don't buy into this whole thing, they know how to do nothing. I don't buy into that.
No, that's not true.
No, the young people I've met, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And
like, see the guys doing the natural farming.
Oh, yeah.
They're devoting so much of their spare time to going around the country and teaching people about it.
Yes.
And in the meantime, I say my nephew's he doesn't have a house.
Yeah.
You know, he's living in a little pod on the farm because this is what he wants to do. Now he's trying to invent his own way of building a house,
Yes.
which is again like a lot of those young YouTubers are doing. And there are ways. There's a guy down in Leitrim, Peter Coleman. He's I think he's in his 70s now, but he was teaching people how to build their own houses way back in the 80s and 90s out of light clay straw and timber frame. So you could afford to build your house and have no mortgage. But of course, he was cancelled.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He was supposedly going to be on RTE, and then they lost the tape and they couldn't find it, so it was never on, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there are people with the skills that can teach the young people. And if you can change your mindset from materialism to love and growing your own food and that kind of community, then you will be able to have your own home and you will be able to have your own garden, you know.
Because I think a lot of people underestimate it. There's entire industries devoted to continuing the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, why in Ireland do we have a cavity, a block either side? Could it have anything to do with CRH and how they promote concrete all over the world? Could it have anything to do with that? Then, you know, as I says, all across the world, you have so many different types of buildings. So you can look at Japanese carpentry, you can look at an igloo, you can wherever the environment is suitable. So a massively good day is to go to Bunratty, have a look at the cottages from the different areas and just think, why did they use that?
Yeah.
That's what they had.
Yeah.
So
and you either have stone or clay or cob everywhere.
Yes.
So the places where there's stones, there's no clay. In the places where there's clay, there's usually no stones. But you will have one or the other.
Yes.
And you can build your house out of that.
yeah.
You know, and they all were. All the houses were built out of that.
You see, this is what is it? Nick has the clay house down there.
No. Colin.
That's right.
Yeah, Colin.
And
Wood and wood.
yeah, it's brilliant. And now he's a figure of admiration. And I just think a lot of people, if they could just be a little bit brave, realize you're doing this for you. It doesn't really matter what they think. And you would be surprised because a lot of people think, wow,
Yeah.
that looks
I
great.
think it's changing.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And there's so many, do you know, like even if you go back to the Cronogue stuff, do you know, now you have the capability of doing your outside layer with wattle and daub, insulate a centre, and then start off on the inside. If we can just get the concept of live whatever way you think best fits yourself, do you know? And look at
And I'm hoping to have a natural building centre on my land in Leitrim.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that we'll have
Do you want
lots
to
of
tell us a
different
little bit about it? Now, I know you have to be somewhat vague until you get everything up and running.
Yeah. So one of the things I've always been interested is natural building. For like 30 years, I've bought books on it. I've been really into it. And of course, for a while, I believed in the whole climate change bullshit, which I no longer believe in. I mean, I believe there's huge planetary damage, but the whole carbon man-made thing is just not true. But that doesn't affect the natural building thing up to a point, because at one stage, the natural building was all natural, right? But now they're trying to change it so that it's carbon neutral. And that's a different thing. That involves things that are not natural, like plastic and concrete and steel. So you build this massive kick-ass house, right? But it's counted as environmentally friendly because it's carbon neutral, even though it's steel and concrete and all kinds of things. You know, you see them on Grand Designs. Oh, wow, look at this carbon neutral house. I'm saying, yeah, but the ecological footprint of that house is massive. Whereas if you build something from the local area, it won't be. Now, we haven't run out of resources or anything like that, but there's a feeling of being in a natural house that's just fabulous.
Yeah.
You go into, they're down in Inniskeen, they have these beautiful cob houses, and you go in there and the house breathes with you. It's like an extension of yourself. And that's, I think we need to go back to that. And also all the natural fabrics and all the natural things like basketry instead of plastic and stuff like that. So I'm hoping to have eventually on mine, we'd have a cob house, a light clay straw house, a wattle and daub house, people to come, build them, experiment. And then if you see it done, it's a big difference. Because when I went to Inniskeen and I actually went into the house and I saw the house and the way they do their fire, the way they had their kitchen, I was like, wow, this is a gorgeous house. You know, so you can have a gorgeous house And it doesn't have to be the gorgeous house that's in the interior design magazines.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is. I do think people are becoming more interested in that because, like you said, if somebody builds a natural house now, people are actually impressed by that.
Yes.
Whereas before they'd be like, Jesus, what kind of a hut is there after building over there, you know?
Well, I've always said it. A lot of the people who put up the architect's house don't realise that the usual reaction around the place is, what in the name of God of a monstrosity is that?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that modernist movement in architecture was deliberately designed to take us away from
Beauty.
natural and beauty.
Yeah.
There's no beauty in it. And like you can get fooled into thinking it's beautiful, but it's not.
Well, if you are, and I do laugh at the ones that say they're anti-Nazi and all that, stop putting up those buildings because it was literally at the School of Hamburg or something that created that entire movement.
Brutalist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's designed entirely to strip beauty away.
And you see, what we were saying earlier is that the natural state is love. If you surround yourself with beautiful things, like in your space here, everything you have put on your shelves has a resonance for you.
Yes.
So when you look at it, it brings a pleasant memory in.
Yes.
I make a conscious effort to surround myself with beauty all the time. So that everywhere I look, and there's a great saying, everything in your life should be beautiful or useful, preferably both.
Yes.
And so when you look at something beautiful, it sparks that love in you, you appreciate it. And so if you built the house and you can live in the house and it's natural and beautiful, then it reflects back to you. And it's the same with community. If you build a beautiful community, it reflects back to you. And I think we can even take what we're learning about the natural buildings to the person who is in the 3-bed semi and can't move out of it, and just make what's in the house more natural. Get rid of the chemicals, change the clothing, get the plastics out. You know, most of us now wear wool or linen or cotton all the time. We're not wearing, like, people are sweating into those yoga pants and the plastics going. So I think we can just, everything we promote is natural.
Yeah.
And so if you can't build a natural house, you can make your own house more natural. You can make your garden more natural.
There's a wonderful movement in urban America where they're on the balconies, they're growing food and they go out to meditate amongst the plants and that. And even if you are finding yourself 5 floors up in San Fran or wherever it is, you surround yourself with a bit of natural life, you zone out for a little while. And I just think introducing plants back to houses is a really good thing.
It is.
Because, you know, years ago it was very common to have plants inside the houses. Now lately it seems to be...
It seems to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can, and I mean, everybody can have a natural bed.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You put a wool blanket under the sheet, that makes it breathe. You have a cotton sheet, you have cotton duvet cover and feather or some other type of a natural filling in it, and a natural pillow. So then for half of your day, well, maybe not half, but 8 hours of your day, you're in a natural environment.
Yes.
And that's really good for you.
Isn't it a colossal problem with all of the sheep in Ireland? We have wool prices that are, you know, you're basically paying to have them sheared now. And I'm not saying the shearer doesn't deserve it, but what I'm saying is,
Yes.
at one time, the farmer got a few pound for it, and we had entire industries based off the sheep's back. Now we are clothing ourselves and lying down and walking across synthetic fibres all the time, whilst basically selling a resource for half nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know, how do we... It's only through
I think it's
communities.
changing. I think it's changing a little bit. I always laugh. I was saying this to somebody the other day. I started getting rid of anything that had plastic in it or whatever, and charity shops would be where I'd be getting my clothes. So you'd get wool jumpers in charity shops, or tourist shops actually as well. It's an interesting one. And you'd get them for, 5 or 10. But I've noticed now that the charity shops are beginning to realise that people are valuing wool, and the price of the wool jumpers has gone up, which means there's more than me at it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And the linen has gone up a little bit in prices. So people are beginning to see it. And I think all of these things, it's you sow a seed here, you sow a seed there, and the market will follow eventually. When it starts to become viable, that there's enough people who want to wear wool, then it might change. And we're not necessarily worried about the capitalism or anything behind this. But, there is a capitalist model all around us. And if enough people are asking for something or looking for something, someone will fill that space and start to create it.
Can I ask you both kind of it's not that it's overly personal or that, but it's something I've observed amongst the movement. You're both beautiful women who don't wear makeup. And across the movement, all of the girls, they seem to have ditched the whole makeup element of it. And as I says, like, beauty comes from there, within. Do you know, a lot of younger girls, I think, could learn. They are putting themselves through a very harsh financial burden.
Yeah.
And
time.
I have to break through it. Nobody cares. Do you know, I had this with my own partner, do you know. Why do you put on makeup? I do it for you. No, you don't. Because I don't care. So I
Do it for other women.
Yeah,
yes.
that's it.
And is that the piece of honesty that, you know, it's not for men at this stage.
No.
It's not for men. Do you know?
No.
It's I think it's almost a belief that there is an expectation that you must. I never wore makeup. My mother trained very early on in makeup, and told me to not wear it. And myself.
So
and my
she
sister
was
never did.
familiar where it came from.
Absolutely. She was one of the first people in Ireland trained in selling makeup through pharmacies. And the first thing she said is, don't start. And I never did. And my sister did briefly, and her husband used to sit there picking it off her face. So, like, the other thing I think that makeup does is it tells, every time you stand in front of a mirror and you put stuff on, is, why is this not good enough? Why is this face not good enough?
It's a frightening aspect, because if you look at it from a natural perspective, or that, you know, we all age, you know. But for Christ's sake, when you have 15 and 16-year-old girls covering themselves up with makeup and that.
The most beautiful skin. And
I do cry a little bit at it and say.
And it damages their skin then.
Filters, you know, they take a lovely photo of themselves.
Yeah, and then change them.
And they change the whole bloody thing.
Yeah.
To make it look, they're looking like a plastic doll. You know? And it's like,
But that's being put out there by the makeup industry. The makeup industry is one of the biggest industries. Were you saying earlier?
Second, yeah.
Second to the arms
Second to
industry or
arms,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
you have
when
to put
bring
it
in all
out there.
Yeah.
You have to put it out there that you're not okay the way you are, so that you will go and buy the products.
And let's face it,
You
if
know.
you've got chemicals to sell, you can sell it as petrol, you get some money. You sell it as medicine or you sell it as makeup, you got a huge markup on the same chemicals.
Yeah, it's really that simple. So it is. And then, how do you square the circle? There's something being introduced. It's a lack of honesty. We had a thing called a body positivity movement. That went in. That started off, and all of these things start off the right way.
Yeah.
And the right way was, listen, bodies come in different shapes and sizes. You know, you have someone with wide hips, someone with narrow hips. It starts off very innocently. And then it ends up in a place where it goes, well, morbid obesity is just as healthy as having a good weight. And you're like, no. What I was trying to say there was, you know, that there's different shapes and sizes, but no, God, no, that's not healthy. You could die from that. Oh, so you're a bigot.
Yeah.
And that's like, how, as the levels of intelligence, and I make reference to education and stuff like that, have increased in society, how have the levels of insanity gone up in tandem with it?
That's academic intelligence, which is a completely different thing to emotional intelligence, to your gut instinct and common sense. Common sense is what you call it.
Yes.
Common sense is gone.
Yeah.
And my observation is that the more educated a person is, generally, not always, is the less common sense they have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's become totally
A lot
in
of
their heads.
education is sponsored by people who have a vested interest in people taking medicines, using makeup. You know, a lot of like university education, there's a lot of sponsorship from the corporations that want you to continue.
Oh, certainly,
taking
no,
these
no.
meds. And a lot of I've been overweight myself. I've had Lyme's disease and fibromyalgia, and which is why I'm kind of really gone into the whole health thing. So I know the feeling of being overweight. You don't like yourself.
Yeah.
You don't like. I know I've a few friends and they're heavy and they spend an awful lot of time on their shoes because it's the one thing they can buy the same as everybody else.
Yes.
And I remember going into the shops and going, whatever size 18 is what I'm leaving here with if it fits me. And that was it. I had no choice on the size 10, 12, 14.
Yeah.
And the saddest thing I see lately is a lot of people who are on anti-anxiety medication tend to balloon up because of the medication, which is the terrible irony. They're going on it because they're anxious. Then they're inflamed is what they actually are. They're drinking Diet Coke thinking it's helping them. That's inflaming them. You
Yeah.
know, they're eating all the wrong things. So I think a lot of it is engineered ignorance of what's in our food and the chemicals that are literally blowing people's bodies up. You can see it. They're carrying bags of inflammation around their bodies. And then the self-esteem is lowered. And so the makeup becomes more important to hide the fact that they actually don't like their body. And you can rant and rave about body positivity all you like. But when you sit alone in your own body and you don't feel good,
Yes.
it's not good for you.
Well, you see, this was always my angle of it, and it's been a topic of annoyance with my partner for some time, is because if I see something, I just say it, and I appreciate someone doing the same for me. I had an uncle for years, and one occasion, remember we were on about the hair dye, that I once dyed my hair. And I was only 12 or 13. And I won't say the word he used, we'll call it moron. But that was the first word. It was just, here I come in, here, look at how cool I am. You're a moron. And that was it. And I thought, right, well, what have I done here? I have went to a hairdresser to get a silly haircut. I've handed them money that I actually worked for, and I've been told by someone who I have respect that you look like a moron. That was helpful. I won't do that again.
And you put chemicals on your head,
Directly on
into
your
skin.
Yeah.
That the hairdresser probably used gloves to mix.
Yes,
And you kept absorbing that as long as that was in your hair.
that's right. Yeah.
And we keep repeating.
So he was correct with his analogy. But
And the one thing about people being overweight is if people assume that if somebody's overweight, they're overeating. And that's not necessarily so. It's
No.
because the food is so processed that your body doesn't recognize it.
Yes.
And there's sugar in everything. There's like 14 spoons of sugar in a jar of pasta sauce. People are eating all these hidden sugars. Sugar is one of the most inflammatory things you can have. So it's not that they lack discipline and that they're eating too much. It's that they're eating the wrong things. So if they change to natural foods, they don't even have to go on a diet usually. They'll just automatically, over time, it takes a while, lose weight.
well, I'm
I
trying
do feel there's a bit of discipline involved here as well, and habit changing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do something remarkably silly now. I'm going to have a cigarette. But I've had this conversation with a nutritionist or that, and I've said, look, I try to limit it to a few stupid things. I think most of us are doing a whole plethora of stupid things and not trying to prevent anything.
Yeah.
So I'll do things like fasting, detoxes. I try to get out to the garden and introduce good food that you've ate. Even a simple thing, if we're on the bog, I will have some peat. I will directly eat some peat because my uncle's done it and they never suffered with heartburn or anything
There's
like
your
that.
microbiome sorted.
Yeah. A trough. If I'm out in the field, I'll take my drink out of the trough because as far as I'm concerned, the animals are sound. They're getting some microbiology in there, and I don't know, I do silly things like that, but I don't be sick.
Yeah.
So, like at the moment there's a poultice. I got a splinter, it blew up. So what do? You squeeze it out, you put a poultice on it. And there, what was the homeopathic remedy? Leadum. So I took Leadum or that,
And magnesium sulfate is another good thing to draw out stuff.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
But it's such a nice skill set to have that you're not running to the doctor for
I think the reason-
leash thing.
The other thing is, like, the likes of magnesium sulfate, when I bought that last, I had to go to 3 chemists before I
It's getting
took it.
difficult to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet it's a very natural, cheap thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
€3.
But it's like, what's the bluestone?
Yeah, thing.
Yeah, like bluestone used to be for a sheep with a bad foot. You could spray it on the potatoes for blight. It had multiple uses.
Yeah.
Now it's just more and more difficult to get.
And I was
get
down
it,
at the
yeah.
vet the other day, and they're telling everyone coming in and on the phone now that to treat them like a chemist anymore. You can't get anything from them without a script and tag numbers. And there's a pile of forms for them all to fill out and all this kind of thing. So
Yeah, but what they're going to do is be the beacons of their own demise. Because if you make something difficult, you undoubtedly push people for the alternative.
Yeah.
So one of the things that the Irish government probably didn't realise is when they introduced the chemical spraying course, they educated every farmer about how dangerous these chemicals were. Like, I done that course, and there was 15 or 16 of us in the classroom who all looked at each other and went, this stuff is lethal.
Yeah.
Do you know, you have a man there telling you, oh yeah, you can use this product, but you have to be dressed up like a spaceman, and you have to have a sprayer with 3 tanks, because you'll have to have a tank to wash out the first tank, and you'll have to have a separate tank to wash your hands, because heaven forbid you ingest any of that. And then when your nephew was here, when he was like promoting his Korean stuff, and he just drinks it, you're like, yeah. that sounds like something I could put on my garden.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I love to swim, and I love swimming in lakes and rivers. And when I go to France, I can safely swim in them, and you know, along the Pyrenees or whatever. And in Ireland, people would say to you, "Oh, you shouldn't swim there. There'll be runoff." I always go, "Runoff from what, though? Like, what's the runoff? Why is it dangerous? If it's on the land, and the cattle are on the land, or the crops are on the land, and if it's dangerous to have whatever's on the land run off into the water, and I shouldn't be swimming in it, why would anyone be eating it?"
Yeah.
And I read something the other day, and it kind of stopped me in my tracks. In France 20 years ago, they took I think they had a referendum, I could be wrong on that, but they voted not to introduce glyphosate. And then they tested 20 years later, they tested the French population, because they said, we need to see, you know, what happened. 97% of French people still have glyphosate in their system. It's in everything. It's everywhere. Even if they're not putting it on their soil, it's coming in the processed food. And one of the conditions that I treat most often as a kinesiologist is your ileocecal valve. It's the valve between the large and small intestine. And when it gets swollen and out of place, you get a lot of issues. You get parasite buildup and so on. It's particularly glyphosate sensitive. So I think an awful lot of the gluten intolerances, a lot of the digestive issues people have. And, you know, people do say, oh, I go gluten-free, but then you're eating some other kind of muck that they sell as gluten-free bread. You know, it's not gluten, it's glyphosate. It's not, you know, it's not wheat that we're eating now as wheat used to be. It's been hybridized down. Barbara O'Neill's very good on this. It's been hybridized down. It's a much harder shell. It's much harder to digest. You've got all the chemicals on it. And that's your daily bread. Like, you're starting with the problems in your daily bread.
Do people realise how much selective breeding has been done for reasons that are totally opposite to nutrition? So a simple thing like an orange. For the past 40, 50 years, oranges have not been bred to taste well or to be nutritious. They have been bred for transportation. Thicker skin, doesn't, what's the word for it? You know, the bruise or damages easily. That was the predominant concern with the breeding.
Tomatoes as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now you have all of this food that your granny or granddad could have said, that's good for this. You're dealing with an entirely different species now.
Yeah, it's not the same food. I found a tomato one time that had fallen down the back of the press. And this, at the time, I think we were only eating tomatoes in the summer. And I found it maybe February. So this tomato was at least 6 months old, and it looked exactly the same as when I had bought it in the shop. So that's completely unnatural. How could it be like that?
Well, Darren knows we have all the apple trees out there. 2 days.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
Do you know, the apple is on the tree. If you pick the apple and you don't do something with it, you have 2 days to do something with it. Then you look at, and I won't mention brand names or anything, but there's apples that are very well marketed, and you look at it and you go, oh, so this flew from California and it's now in Ireland and it's going to be here for however much longer.
Because even the organic food can be irradiated, and there are certain things you're still allowed to spray from it. So you're much better off to buy an apple or get an apple from somebody local, because it hasn't travelled, it hasn't been irradiated, it probably hasn't been sprayed. And that brings me to the whole local thing. We're really promoting the local thing. Buy your meat and your veg and your eggs or whatever you can get in your local area as much as possible.
See, I have difficulty with the organic thing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. If you have a water course or you are next door to someone who's spraying chemicals, there is drift.
There is, of course.
And then if we go from this concept of these are forever chemicals in the water, I would find it very difficult to believe that when that water rises into the clouds and falls once again, that there isn't some carrying element going on. And that's where my...
Let's not forget all the chemicals being sprayed out of
in the sky. Yeah.
Or even if it is clear, you know.
You know,
But I mean,
It's a hard thing to achieve. Maybe
Yeah.
it's the
Really.
word itself.
You can't.
It's the word itself, I think, because it's attached to certification
Yeah.
and it's attached to standards, you know. Whereas like farm fresh or like, you know, farm grown or home grown or, you know, it's just the word I think I think it's becoming a dirty word or a cheap word.
There's another aspect of it too, Darren, is, you know, all of this at one stage was called food.
Food.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah,
And it's a
yeah,
bit
yeah.
strange that you have a terminology to go, oh, well, that's the good food and that's the bad food. Why is there bad food?
yeah,
Why?
yeah,
why
like
are you
that
doing
young
that?
girl Chloe. she does these amazing shorts for
She's
YouTube.
Oh,
brilliant,
yeah.
isn't she?
Blooms
Yeah,
and greens,
yeah.
and she said it used to be we should call it now food and chemical food,
Yeah.
not food and organic food, because
Yeah.
it's all like that's the food that used to be there, but then they started putting chemicals into it, so that should be called chemical food.
Is the concept of patronage making a resurgence? Because I think there's a lot of people who will say are well-to-do, and they seem to be approaching small farmers now at the moment and saying, listen, I live in town, but I am fully awake to I'm being fed crap. I don't have the time for a garden myself, but I wouldn't mind calling here on a Sunday and picking up a box of goods.
Yeah.
I think that's starting to make a
It is,
a
yeah.
fair old resurgence.
We
you know.
started a community growing, and I was lucky. I had a little lump sum from retirement, and so I paid for a polytunnel. I paid for the rent for the first year to get it started, and we gathered a group together.
Well done.
And I was happy to do that because somebody said to me, I said, what should I invest in my money? I don't really want to leave it in the bank. And they said, invest in productive assets. And I thought, yeah,
No,
that's
well done.
Good advice.
yeah, and we've a group now that have come together, so it's great because Joan goes around building the network, but I'm on the ground building community, and you know, messy and difficult and all as it is, we're learning an awful lot. And we always say Passage West at one point was the second most deprived town in Ireland, so if it can be done in Passage West, it can be done anywhere. So I'm interested in the space between the homesteading and kind of, you know, the person living in the semi-D with the underfloor heating. So how can we transition people? So we have people who come up and they spend an hour or two on the land because they don't have enough room to grow themselves. They love their growing or whatever. I'm not a natural grower, so I kind of manage a little bit. But we have people who say, I don't have the time, but I'll pay you twice what the others are paying who are turning up to the work so I can get veg and I can come up and get it. So people are beginning to see it. They're beginning to buy in. And I think if we can make small gradual changes there, if somebody can appreciate, you know, we'd one woman, she came to our market and then she got involved in our health hub and then she started growing. And not only did she grow, her husband built her a tunnel, she started growing tomatoes. She started singing to the tomatoes.
Yeah.
She was so in love with her tomatoes that when she went away, she took them on holidays with her so she could keep singing with them. I have never tasted tomatoes
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
they were growing with love.
Never.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And I
amazing-
pass trucks coming up and down. I travel to France, but I pass walls of trucks with bags of water that are described as tomatoes in them, and they're not the same thing.
No.
And once people start to taste it and understand it, and I think a large part of it is education, because an awful lot of people go into the supermarket and they're faced with the choices that are there, and they don't realise that that's not food. You know, that maybe 10% of fresh food in that supermarket is probably all right to eat if you have to.
And
The
that's
rest of
the
it-
shocking thing, you know. I mean, once you do start making yourself very aware of active ingredients in food, preservatives,
Yeah.
you know, that poisonous frog thing that's nearly on every biscuit now as well. and
Yeah, the
that kind of
rainforest
stuff.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you're awake and aware of this and you walk around the shop, the less and less you can actually pick up and put in your trolley, you know.
But it's like Roisin, and it was your Freike put her on to it, burger. And she goes, do you ever look at the meat content? And Roisin goes, what? And I had never had this conversation with Roisin. And Freike, it was a very simple thing. She says, you know, a lot of burgers, you know, there's very little meat in them. And she goes, I never thought. Yeah, and a lot of people don't
No,
think
they don't
that.
think. Yeah.
Do you know, you don't think there'll be so much wheat in it. And
The marketing
in the
department,
burger?
the marketing department put fresh on it, and
Yeah.
you know, or
Yeah.
low fat, or
freshly picked. It was
Yeah.
fresh when it was picked. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's not freshly picked by
Yeah.
any means, you know. But even a bar soap, you know, you think, oh, aloe vera soap. Read the ingredients. I mean, the aloe vera is way down the end there.
Yeah.
somewhere,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and it's the same in food, you know. And this whole sugar thing, as bad and all that sugar was, Jesus, what they replaced it with is
the corn
worse,
syrup and
you
stuff.
know.
We
Yeah.
actually have a guy that one of our natural health down in Kerry, kind of a good food in Ireland. What's the best you can get in Super Value and places like that?
Yeah.
So we have that on a PDF, so we can give that out to anyone that wants it. It's just a kind of a shopping list of what are the actual really good things. Because for instance, like there's different types of natural yogurt, and we assumed, oh, it's organic natural yogurt, it's grand. And then one of my friends said, oh, but there's sugar in that one. And I was like, sure, there couldn't be. And then I looked at the ingredients, there was skimmed milk in it, and skimmed milk is sugar. So you think you're having the best yogurt of all, and it's actually got sugar in it. But then there are others that don't. Do you know what I mean? So if you know how to, you should always read the label, basically, for everything.
But one of the things I'm a firm believer in it is it's beneficial to get a little bit of the good stuff. You're not going to probably work all of it.
Yeah.
But never underestimate how good it is to walk up into that garden, pull a carrot, just wipe it with your hand, take some of that microbiology and get it into you. This crack of washing everything and I'm telling you, just pull it out of the ground, wipe it off.
If you have to justify it to yourself, just like, it's very seldom we pay to go to see a doctor these days, and if you're finding yourself having to go and spend 80 quid on meds every month because of something you've got and see the doctor and get a blood test and do this, all of a sudden you could be leaving, 200 quid behind you every month doing something like that. So just put it into your food,
Yeah. But my last trip was hilarious because Roshan wanted me to get the health check thing,
Oh, yeah.
And you're on, you smoke? Yeah, smoke, yeah, do the, you're fine, okay, you drink, an odd time, yeah. Tea? Oh, yeah, all the time, yeah. Went through the whole list. And anyways, everyone came back clear and she was of the opinion I should be dead. And I went, I don't know, I'm still here anyway. So
but they have really demonized things that are good for you. Butter and cream and those things, they're good for you. They're good fats, you know, and there's a whole thing of, do you not get you on these low fat spreads and they're seriously bad for you.
Well, when they began talking about eggs being bad for you, I just lost entire faith in it.
Yeah.
Because all I could remember was Grandad, eggs, and more eggs, and he was 84. And, really and truly what, it was doctors killed him in the latter end because it was something to do with an injection or that, and that was, that was it. He was downhill after that. But, yeah.
There's a huge issue, I think, around people being unaware. And one of the things that comes up an awful lot when we have health hub meetings is people educating each other. Did you know this was bad for you? And here's a healthier option. Like I'm running this wellness program at the moment, and I've put 2 options in, and it has sorted out people's issue with potatoes and chocolate. So I found a lovely healthy recipe for chocolate. It's cacao, coconut oil, dates, and a bit of vanilla.
Yeah.
You can have 10 of those a day, and it's good for you.
Yeah.
It's good for your brain. Caprylic acid helps with candida overgrowth in your gut. So it's medicine, and it's food as medicine. But I don't tell people that when I'm giving it to them. It's good enough on its own. It tastes good enough. And then I tell them how good it is for them. And then that's chocolate sorted. Then pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, throw them on a pan. They start to heat up. Throw some tamari, the vegan soy sauce on it, or aminos if you use that in your cooking, or even ordinary soy sauce. And honestly, that's better than a bag of crisps. It's saltier and tastier and moreish. There's 2 fixes that we just share now in our community. And that's a lot of the shit that you'd eat late in the evening or whatever, the munchies, whatever it is you get. That's 2 fixes there that you can learn when you come to a health hub and find, oh, yeah, that works for me. I can just try that. Little substitutions. There's things we can be doing all the time.
And the sugar is huge. The sugar is so addictive. It's the hardest thing to get off of.
Yeah.
So you can't just go off sugar. You have to have something instead, like Sharon's chocolate recipe, or we have a whole list of very nice sugar-free recipes made with alternatives to sugar. So, because when you get the munchies, you're going to be going looking for something. So you need to have something ahead of time so that it's there when you decide you need your snack. Because otherwise you'll just say, oh, geez, I'm actually going to go to the shop now and go down and buy a Twix because I just can't. I have to have that sugar fix,
Well, ladies, it was a pleasure having you. We're going to move to the Patreon thing now. We started off the conversation about 2020 and the COVID. I don't think we'll get away with it on YouTube, so we'll do it on Patreon. There was something introduced to people's bodies that time. There is a detox for it. It's having great results. So if you would be interested in that thing that was meant to cure everything but didn't work out that way, leaflets are here. We're going to give references to where you can go to see everything that's involved. We are going to get the links after the show. We'll put them in the description there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Telegram group predominantly.
We have a group called Healing Together on Telegram, which is all about this sort of stuff, sharing information, and it's all resources from within the group people share. And the other big thing, I suppose, that we'd really like to say is, the Green Hearts. We can get them to people. We have the stickers, we have the badges. The point is be visible. Because if you're not already networked into a community, but you like what we're saying and you like the idea of this, put the Green Heart on, you'll have a conversation. You were saying somebody beat you in the car. Do you know, we need to find each other if you're not already in a community.
And also, if you have a little group, even if it's 2 or 3 people, and you want to come and be part of the network, or you want to get on to us and say, where's my nearest group that I can join? Somebody rings me from Sligo. I was like, over to James Conway, with you. And we have a list of places all around Ireland. So if people want to be part of the kind of thing that we're doing, we can hook them up with other people who are on the same page.
Brilliant. And anyone is there, the last Sunday of every month, we will be having a meet up here on the farm. So if anyone would like to meet ourselves or get involved with the Green Hearts group, get yourself down to Dromore West in Sligo, ask in the shop, they'll direct you to the farm, so they will.
Yeah, or just hit the website.
That's right, yes. Sorry, yes, we have a website, that's right.
Go to the local shop.
Ladies, thanks very much for being with us, and we'll move to the Patreon. As I said, we're going to go into this detox and talk about there'll be a lot of people interested in that. I would rather be doing it on YouTube, but can't. Unfortunately, it's like what's the one we were promoting on the other night? Twitter, was it? So the last post, the lady got 3 million views, and the post about us, 3,000.
1,400.
Yeah. So that's how little they want information getting out.
Even AI can't actually. It used to be for knowing what we were about and all that kind of stuff, and it just lost its memory now. It doesn't know us at all. Yeah, ChatGPT isn't allowed to watch us in case we corrupt it. Thank you, everyone, for watching us, and all those who support us on Patreon. Thank you very much. And Spotify. Thank you.
Thanks, you.